Have you ever really stopped to think about what happens to the parts of a chicken we don't eat? The heads, the feet, the feathers? It's so easy to just assume they're waste. But the reality? Oh, it's this incredible story of science, global economics, and some seriously wild innovation. So let's dive into this hidden world where leftovers get transformed into everything from pet food to, well, you won't believe it, space armor.
Okay, to really get a handle on this, we have to start with a truly massive number. Every single year, the global poultry industry cranks out about 140 million tons of meat. It's an almost unimaginable amount of chicken, right? And it's all driven by this huge worldwide demand for affordable protein.
But here's the kicker. For every single chicken that's processed, about a third of its weight never actually ends up on our plates. We're talking about heads, feet, blood, internal organs, and billions upon billions of feathers. So what on earth do we do with all of that? It's a colossal management challenge, to say the least.
Just in the US alone, this adds up to about 56 billion pounds of raw material every year. And you can't just toss it. I mean, think about this. If we sent all of this byproduct stuff to landfills, we would completely run out of space in just 4 years. And believe it or not, that's not even the biggest problem.
You see, raw poultry byproducts are basically a biological ticking clock. They start to decompose incredibly fast, they release these awful odors, and they become a breeding ground for nasty bacteria like salmonella. If this stuff isn't handled properly, it becomes a serious threat to public health and the environment, contaminating our air and water. And all the while, we'd just be wasting a huge amount of valuable protein and fat.
So how does the industry solve this massive problem? Well, the answer is a process that's been called one of agriculture's oldest and most effective recycling operations. It's called rendering. And it's the critical system that turns a potential biohazard into a super valuable resource.
At its core, rendering is actually pretty simple. It just uses heat to sterilize and dry out the byproducts. And in the process, it melts and separates all the fat from the solid protein and minerals. So, think of it less as the disposal method and more as a total transformation. It takes something that would rot in a day and turns it into safe, long-lasting ingredients. Let's walk through it real quick. First, everything, the heads, feet, all of it, gets ground down to a uniform size. Then, it all goes into this massive industrial cooker. It's basically a giant pressure cooker that uses steam to cook the material, which kills any pathogens and drives off all the moisture. After that, a super powerful screw press squeezes out all the liquid fat, leaving behind a solid block of protein called a cake. And finally, that solid cake is dried and ground into a high-protein powder we call meal.
And this picture just illustrates that transformation perfectly. On one side, you've got this raw, perishable waste. And on the other, you have two stable, valuable products, a fat fraction, which is used for energy and animal feed or even biofuels, and a protein meal fraction, which is a key ingredient in pet food, livestock feed, and aquaculture. By doing this, pretty much 100% of the animal gets used. Nothing is wasted.
Now, while rendering is the foundational process, it's not the only story here. The story of one specific byproduct, the chicken paw, reveals this surprising and incredibly lucrative global market that's built on a completely different idea of value.
You know, for decades in the United States, chicken paws were just another low-value thing to throw in the rendering plant. They were just seen as waste, something you had to get rid of. But this completely ignores a classic rule. What one culture considers a byproduct, another might just consider a delicacy.
Just look at this incredible contrast. If you send a chicken paw to a renderer, it's worth, and this is a quote, practically nothing. But by exporting those same paws to China, where they're a popular food, U.S. producers generated $461 million in revenue in 2020 alone. I mean, that is a number that completely changes how you view a waste product.
So what's the difference? It all comes down to the processing. For rendering, it's simple. Just collect it and grind it. But to create an edible, export-grade paw, the process is meticulous. They're scalded in hot water, tumbled to remove the outer skin and claws, inspected for any little defects, and then blast frozen to preserve their quality for that long journey overseas. It's a whole different ballgame. But this story doesn't end with food and feed. No, the most futuristic and maybe the most exciting chapter in this whole journey belongs to the most abundant byproduct of all, feathers. We're now moving way beyond simple rendering into the world of advanced material science. Just take a second to read that. This is not science fiction. Scientists have actually developed a technology to turn waste chicken feathers into a high-performance textile called Caretex. It's a perfect example of how we're just beginning to unlock the hidden potential inside the things we used to just throw away.
So, what makes a feather so special? The answer is one word: keratin. Feathers are over 90% keratin, a fibrous protein that is one of the toughest natural materials, or biopolymers, on the planet. It's the same super tough stuff that makes up animal horns and claws. And the 4 billion pounds of feathers produced every year in the US represents this massive, untapped source of this incredible material.
The process here is just groundbreaking. Researchers have figured out how to essentially dissolve the feathers to pull out the pure keratin protein. They then reform that protein and spin it into a fiber, kind of like making cotton candy but on a molecular level. And this creates a yarn that can be woven into a fabric that's strong, versatile, and totally sustainable.
And this technology is about so much more than just a single fabric. It's opening the door to a whole new generation of sustainable products, all built from the molecular scaffolding hidden inside these poultry byproducts.
I mean, just look at the advantage here. Your traditional synthetic fabrics like nylon, they come from petroleum, they don't biodegrade, hello, microplastics, and making them uses tons of water and chemicals. Kertex, on the other hand, comes from a waste stream, it's fully biodegradable, and its manufacturing process can slash water consumption. It is a huge win for performance and for the planet.
And the applications are just astounding. This same keratin is being used to create biodegradable bioplastics for farming. In medicine, it's biocompatible, meaning our bodies don't reject it, which makes it perfect for creating scaffolds to regrow tissue or for advanced wound dressings. It can even be used to reinforce materials for cars and construction or, and this is my favorite, serve as inspiration for bio-inspired space armor to protect satellites. And this brings us to the ultimate vision here, a perfect circular economy. Imagine this: agricultural trays made from a feather-based bioplastic. Once you're done with them, you can just till them directly into the field, where they biodegrade and release nitrogen back into the soil, acting as a fertilizer. The feathers from one chicken literally help grow the food for the next generation. It's a perfect sustainable loop.
This whole journey from waste to wonder really forces us to reconsider everything we throw away. It just goes to show that with a little bit of ingenuity, the solutions to some of our biggest challenges might be hiding in the most unexpected places, which really only leaves one question: what are we going to unlock next?
Don't forget to like and subscribe for more How Meets History.